one of the things that I've learned is that marketing is not static, right? I've done marketing now for over 10 years, and there are many things that are the same, like, we have different channels, digital marketing, social media, product marketing, we have all of that. But how you actually implement, that always changes because the audiences are evolving, right? Technology involves, it affects how people actually think about the product, how they make their own decisions, the information that they get, that's always changing. So audience are evolving. So if you treat your audience, even if it's the same people you're targeting, the same way that you treat them today, the same way you treated them like 5 years ago, it's actually not going to work and it's not going to convert. So that's one of the first thing, right? Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Peace Itimi, and during the day, currently, I lead marketing at a company called Smile ID. So I'm director of marketing, and I've led marketing and growth teams for the last 10 years. I think I've had a leadership role for the entirety of my career. So I started just after university, building my own digital marketing agency with one of my best friends called Joyce, and we had Rene Digital Hub for like 2 years. And then right after that, I figured agency work is really fantastic, but it kind of keeps you at the top of the funnel, and I wanted to understand what really happens after we do all those impressions and website traffic. So I decided I wanted to be on the client side, and so I moved into startup. And since then, I've been head of marketing, head of growth, global growth manager, director of marketing. So I've basically just been in marketing leadership all through. So which is why I guess I'm here speaking to you for the CMO Masterclass. The title was CMO Masterclass, but I found a better title for myself because I was like, what am I going to do with CMO Masterclass? So instead, I'm going to center my talk around driving revenue growth through effective marketing leadership. My understanding is that there are two kinds of people in the room. There are people who right now who are leading marketing teams or who are working in marketing teams and one day want to lead their own teams, like as a marketing lead or as a marketing leader. And so what I'm going to share is my experience. I'm going to share from what does it look like, and when you're leading a team now or your next role, how should you approach it? And I'll talk through everything from team building to tools and then the actual growth marketing strategies. Because I understand that a lot of people here have marketing experience in some way, I'm not going to go too deep and be very technical. I'm just going to talk through what has worked for me. And thankfully, I've had B2C and B2B experience, so I'll try to give examples across both. And if you have time, I'm very happy to take questions. I would try to go through so I could take like a few questions, because what's a master class if somebody doesn't ask me a question? So, are we good? Are you guys looking forward to the next 30 minutes? Some energy would be nice. Woo! Thank you. Whoever did that, thank you. Okay, so let's start. So very first, right, a key thing that came to my mind when I was working on this slide is, one of the things that I've learned is that marketing is not static, right? I've done marketing now for over 10 years, and there are many things that are the same, like, we have different channels, digital marketing, social media, product marketing, we have all of that. But how you actually implement, that always changes because the audiences are evolving, right? Technology involves, it affects how people actually think about the product, how they make their own decisions, the information that they get, that's always changing. So audience are evolving. So if you treat your audience, even if it's the same people you're targeting, the same way that you treat them today, the same way you treated them like 5 years ago, it's actually not going to work and it's not going to convert. So that's one of the first thing, right? Marketing is not static because audiences are evolving. But also, the platforms also kind of changing a little bit. So the way Instagram was when I first started my career and posting on Instagram as a creator is very different. Like 3 weeks ago, I opened Instagram and I was going through somebody's post and I saw that they had like over 20 images in their carousel. And I was like, yesterday it was like 5 or 10. When is it like now 20? And there's reels and there's so many other different things. And so the platform also evolve as well. And obviously there are also trends. But one thing that has remained constant is the need for experimentation. What that means is that for marketing leaders or for marketers to actually thrive, because you know that things are changing all the time, you want to keep experimenting, you want to keep trying out new stuff. You want to see, oh, this is like a new trend, or this is what I understand about my consumers now. How do I implement something that is new and is different from what I was doing? And if it doesn't work, that's fine. That's what experimentation is. Experimentation is not just trying new strategies. It's saying, I have 4 things I want to test, and it is okay if they actually fail, but I get information back that I take back as data and use to make my next marketing decisions. But what's really, really important that I've discovered is that leading marketing teams to success is a balance of having the right people. And when I think about my career as a marketing leader, I first of all think about my team, which is nice because I have a few people on my team here. I also think about the right tools, but also employing the right strategies. And at the end of the day, people, tools, and strategies is about revenue, which is why my slide is actually about driving revenue growth. Okay. Marketing as a growth driver. I found this really interesting quote, and it has stuck in my head for a long time. It says that marketing is at its best. When marketing is at its best, it's actually a growth driver. Chief marketing officers who realize this do two things. First, they take a growth mindset and set broader aspirations for marketing. Second, they recast marketing as a revenue driver versus a cost center. Have you guys ever heard this thing that when companies want to do layoff, marketers go first? Do you know why? Because we're always spending money. I want to do marketing campaign, give me budget. I want to do influencer marketing, give me budget. So technically, a lot of the times, people see marketing teams as a cost center. They are the ones that will always spend money. So when there's no money, what is marketers supposed to do? But the ways that marketers and marketing teams can become very resilient and also very impactful is to reposition yourself as, I'm not just doing marketing campaigns and spending money and showing results of traffic and impressions, but my results are very tiered towards growth and revenue. At the end of the day, it's all about the company's bottom line. If you're a B2C, it's still about revenue, whether that's acquiring users who are doing transactions, and then from transactions, the company's making profits, or you're in B2B, and that's leads and sales. At the end of the day, your company wants to make money. And when things go south and there's no funding, they will always keep the teams or the people that helps them make money. And so that's one of the first. In fact, if you take nothing else from this place, think about yourself no more as, I'm just doing marketing for brand awareness and acquisition. Yes, those are parts of things that you need to do, but at the core of what you should be reporting and what you should be thinking about is revenue. When my teams were having like stand-up every morning or every Monday, I'm always like, okay, how many qualified leads do we have? Okay, what's actually like the cost implication here? And I'm having a conversation with my manager. It's really about what's the revenue goal. I no longer report stuff like website traffic. I can't remember the last time that I did a marketing dashboard and there was website traffic or visitors that I was reporting. It's at the end of the day, like, we generated this amount of leads or acquired this amount of users, and this is how they are doing down the pipeline. If you get yourself to be able to do that, you automatically reshape your career, and you'll always be somebody who is impactful in what you do. Now, when you're thinking about marketing as the core driver, what are some important questions that you want to ask yourself? First of all, what drives revenue in your organization? Every organization is different, right? If you work at Seller, for instance, what drives revenue, it's a bit different from when you work in an organization like maybe AfriChange that does remittance, or Smile ID that does enterprise-level KYC solutions. But you want to understand what exactly drives revenue. Is it me acquiring users? And it's not just acquiring users, which is why here I put two terms that are very interesting that we use. One of them is enterprise qualified leads. So I'm not just generating leads in a B2B organization. I'm generating a specific type of leads, and I'm not just generating that specific type of lead. They have to be qualified, because if they are not qualified and the sales team do not say, Peace, thank you, this lead is actually trying to sign a deal with us, I've not done my job right, that's not my KPI. And if I'm on the B2C side, yes, I acquired users, and we came to an event, and 100 people signed up. Okay, cool. So what happened to that 100 people? Did they pass through their KYC? Did any of them activate? Did they actually complete their profiles? Did they actually sign up? What are they actually doing? That is what you want to be figuring out. So you're not just focusing on top level. It's what is the key thing that I need to do, right? And make sure that when these leads leave me to the product team or the commercial team or the sales team, they have a higher chances of doing revenue. That becomes like your own marketing North Star for your department. So think about it and ask yourself, if you're making notes, what is the core revenue driver in my organization? What kind of customers? And at what point does that actually affect me? And how do I make sure that I employ the right strategies to actually get them there? The next question is, we're talking CMO Masterclass. So does my team understand this metric? Does my team understand that this is what we're doing? I think one of the hardest things in my job is taking everybody in my team, all the specialists, and saying, yes, I know that, Emmanuel, your job is to create content. Or Gift, I know you're doing social media right now, but when you move past, I posted on LinkedIn today, tell me how what you're posting on LinkedIn goes back to our KPI. It's a conversation that I have all the time. It's one of my biggest challenges because I think sometimes marketers and specialists, they get so focused on, I have to create my own content, or I have to run PPC ads, or I have to do brand storytelling. Awesome, the brand storytelling is on fire. Okay, but what is our department? What is my team responsible for? And can we take a straight line or curved line from this action that you took to what our revenue driver is? So you want to make sure that the teams that you're working with, not just you, whether you're leading the team or you're working with other people, like if I'm focused on, I listened to Peace Itimi today, so I'm going to focus on revenue, but your teammates also have to be doing the same thing. So you need to question and make sure that everybody understands what we're working towards. The next one is, are you collaborating cross-functionally? The truth is, marketing is not an isolation game. We don't work in isolation ever. It never works, right? If you can do marketing in isolation when you just want to do your campaigns and tell fantastic stories and then report your top-level metrics and top-of-the-funnel metrics. And that's just you. Market the product and move on. But if you really, really want to drive revenue and be that level of impactful, you can't do it by yourself. You need to collaborate with maybe the product team if you're in B2C and make sure that the product is working. You know, we always have this argument of you can market a terrible product and it will do relatively well for now. Like, it will go well. Have you guys ever tried it? The product doesn't work, but marketing is on fire. Acquisition will work. Give it like a few months. Retention is down. They'll start asking what's actually the problem, and that's when you actually become a cost driver because you're spending money, but there's not actually returns. So that's where you now get from, I'm not just doing marketing by myself. I need to make sure that the product that I'm working on actually works. Have you ever been to an event and trying to sign somebody up, but you're trying to sign them up and your app is not working and you're the one selling the product? And you go back and you're like, product money. That's like a key part of what you want to be doing. But it's also on the B2B side, right? Working with the sales team. Half of my job these days as well is working in our commercial team. Someone texted me on Slack today and said, you know, VP of Commercial wants to have a new conversation about lead generation. I'm like, cool. Because I can bring the leads, but they are responsible for closing the leads. I need to know what is happening in closing the leads. My boss is always like, yes, the leads are great. You can't just move on and keep generating leads. You need to ask them, what's the quality like? What questions are they asking? What can I take back from that conversation that helps back with my product messaging as well? If something is going wrong and you're not closing it, you need to find out so that you don't say it's your leads. You can say, it's your pipeline management that is a problem. But it always needs to be like that collaboration. And you need to be able to take yourself out of, I'm just in the marketing team too. Customer success. My users are complaining. Why? Because what you're doing with customer success affects the brand reputation that goes back to affect my results when I actually do direct response campaigns. Okay, and then the third one is, are you able to attribute effectively? At the end of the day, the only way to actually know if your marketing effort is contributing to revenue is if you can track it, right? You can say all the metrics in the world. If they ask you to come and prove it, that the $1 million that your company made this quarter, it was you, how would you do it? It's attribution. And so that's one of the first things that I do when I go into any company. My first role is literally, what are all the data and analytics tools that we have? Because if I start doing any marketing campaign without understanding or having tools to actually track these things, I start running blind, right? Those two things. One, I start running blind. I don't have data to be able to use to influence the next things that I do and make it better. But three, I can't then prove that what I'm doing is actually working or not working. So you need to figure that out. I don't think that marketers survive well without being a little bit of a data analyst. You can have a data analyst on your team, but if you can't get your hands dirty and understand either your CRM or Mixpanel or Google Analytics and actually be able to ask the data questions for yourself, you haven't started the job. That's my opinion, Shai. Can take it to Twitter. Now, that's kind of like the first thing, right? Growth as a core driver. The next point I want to make is, to do this right, you need a really good team. This is my recipe for building teams. Luckily for me, I think probably the last 2 or 3 or 4 jobs I've had, I've almost had to build a team from scratch. And so when I think about building a marketing team, I always use this recipe. First of all, and don't argue with me, I always start with hiring generalists. I'm a generalist. In fact, I say this, and it's in my CV somewhere on my cover letter, that my superpower as a marketer is that I'm a generalist, but with a specialist depth. So which means I understand almost every part of digital marketing. I can take a masterclass on SEO, Google, paid marketing, affiliate marketing, whatever. But I don't necessarily have to do that. But it helps me manage teams better because I understand what a quality talent or a quality specialist looks like because I understand a little bit of their work. And I'm able to actually help my team bring this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing, together, because I have a holistic point of view. And so when I'm also hiring from scratch, I'm not just putting myself as the only generalist. My first hire is also someone who, you can't be focused on only product marketing. You can be focused on only growth marketing. You can be focused on only content marketing. But I need you to have some level of understanding of all the other channels. Because most of us work in a startup. You ain't going to get a lot of budget a lot of times. So we need to get our hands dirty and be able to do a lot of stuff. And then what happens is, when things are very intense, maybe an event period or like a campaign period, everybody's able to chip in and work together. But if you only have specialists, somebody is on leave, your SEO has not worked for a year, nobody has posted on social media because they don't know how to post on LinkedIn, then actually that never works. So first of all, I start with generalists. And then I also make sure that I hire people that complement my own core competency. My core competency is growth, right? So like actually technical growth marketing. And so when I'm hiring, I'm also finding somebody who is a generalist, but in some way, they can complement me. So they don't have to be the best growth person, but maybe their own strength is product marketing and product messaging and product launches. And I know that if it's only the two of us on the team, it's killer. 4 people, 5 people who are pretty much good. And then you hire skilled specialists. Because you can't just build a team in only like everybody does everything. At some point, you want people who have a lot of depth in a certain area, who can also grow that function under the marketing department. But my but here is, I like to hire skilled specialists that they have a good mindset and they already understand how they fit into the bigger picture. Because again, remember, we're working as a department. It's not just one person. And so when you're building a really strong team, it's making sure that everybody kind of understands how they connect to the other person. So that when you're thinking about a campaign, I don't have to say, okay, you're doing brands, go and talk to the analytics person to kind of help you figure out. You can go by yourself and say, this is how it's actually supposed to work. And then the third part of it is this life. Work cross-functionally, right? Building a killer growth marketing team typically involves working closely with other roles, or sometimes embedding those roles into your team as well. So like a growth products team, or a sales and revenue ops team, right? Either building like a small, like a very small unit, or making sure that you have like weekly meetings in that with different skill sets that actually come together that complement what your team is actually doing. Now, I've talked about marketing as a core growth driver. The second thing I talked about is what it takes to build a team, right? Now, what's the third thing? Strategies. If you remember my first slide, I said one of the things I've learned is that marketing is the right people, the right tools, the right strategies that goes into revenue. So what are some strategies that I found that works regardless of your industry? The first one is content as a growth driver. Content across everything. Funny enough, one of the core roles I always hire for first is content, because I think content kind of works across everything. So there are 3 things I will talk about in terms of content as a growth driver. The first one is the SEO approach, or SEO as a backbone. I think SEO doesn't necessarily work in terms of producing a lot of results at scale for every industry, but if your industry is one of the ones that it works for, then SEO is always a good way. It's a good way to enhance brand visibility and drive organic traffic, because when people are searching for stuff, you almost need them to keep seeing your brand everywhere. But things that I've found that really works in terms of like specific SEO is one, localized SEO. I've had the opportunity to work for brands that do stuff across multiple African countries. And one of the things that we keep trying on my team is to make sure that it's not just one country that we have the most present, but how do we make sure that in Zambia, in South Africa, in Kenya, in Ghana, people there are actively able to use us and not just relying on the general big brand of the market that you actually launched for. And one of the ways you can easily build that reputation is localized SEO, figuring out how to actually create content that is targeted to those specific countries and for the language and keywords in that specific country. That's one of the things that actually works. For instance, in my company right now, we're very big on the South African market, and we spent the last couple of months just building South African traffic, and it actually works. You can literally go from, yes, we have 100K traffic, but when I look at the 100K traffic, 98% is from our biggest market, Nigeria. But then you drill down 3 months after just focusing on localized content, and you see that, okay, we've gone from 2% in this country to now we're at 15%. And if you do that like across board, it actually begins to grow. And the other one, obviously, articles that are optimized for commercial success and leadership. Another thing that really helps with content is content loops. I think about content as one of the biggest growth loops. So when people think about growth market and think about growth loops, it's not just product market, product-led growth. It's also content-led growth, right? Thinking about the pieces of content that you can create and publish on the internet that circles back to getting people to actually use your app, right? That could be reports and guides. I think one of my personal, my best success, right, in terms of like content marketing is at Smile. In January, we released this report called the Fraud in African Report, and it's the first report that talks about identity fraud across Africa. There are a lot of reports that we've done in the past, and there are a lot of reports around identity fraud across different countries, but it was the first piece of content that I've ever put out there and had like 50 plus organic mentions across all of Africa. This is not, I want to do a press release, so I'm sending messages to TechCabal and TechPoint and saying, please post for me. This is saying, I put it on 2 places, and you see a website in Cote d'Ivoire or a website in Zambia, Uganda, picking up and writing their own thought leadership article based on what you actually do, giving you inbound traffic. If you do it right and you write good stories, people actually want to carry. I've learned with pitching to the press that if you just pitch, we want to make an announcement, they'll ask you, let me send you my rate card. If you tell them, this is the story, and it's interesting to them, they will ask for an interview with somebody in your company and write an organic content about it. That's how you actually build like a content growth loop. But it's also industry newsletters as well, right? Making sure that when people are thinking about anything around your industry, they're thinking about your company first. Social media interactive content, case studies as well. And then obviously, when you're doing content, beyond SEO and content loops, thinking about it as a multi-funnel and a multi-channel approach, right? Experimenting with multiple different things across board. So we're doing newsletters, and we're doing PDFs, and we're doing reports and guides. We're doing social media content, and we're doing video case studies and a video series as well. I kind of seen how those two things come together to actually match up. I'm going to run through the next thing to like 2 minutes, because I think I'm almost done. The next thing is product-led growth. So I've talked about content-led growth, right? That's a key pillar for any industry. The other one is product-led growth. Let the product do the marketing for you. In fact, I think my number one thing here does the entire messaging. Build marketing into the product. If you have to rely on marketing budget and marketing coins to always get people to use the product, something is fundamentally wrong with the product. You need to make sure that the product that you're working on has marketing built into it, whether that's referral so that it's doing the work for you, or it's social share, or it's in-app notifications that you can always like send people messages depending on at what points they're stuck on a funnel, or it's an abandoned cart email, or it's loyalty program or incentives, or it's making sure that the onboarding experience is so good that they fall in love and they're like, I want to use this product because the design is whatever, but build marketing into the product, and you have a say in that. The one thing that marketing leaders need to know is don't wait for the product to be ready or for somebody to come and call you and then you shake your head and say it's not working. When you know that the product is being built or your feature is being built, you go set a meeting with the product manager, go set a meeting with the business head and say, I want to have an idea of what you guys are doing. Let's talk about what the marketing research will look like. Because they're not thinking about you. Their own KPI is to build the product and say it's ready. Your KPI is to market it. So you don't wait until it's not ready and like, you guys did not call me. Oh my God, my product managers don't care about us. We should have a seat at a table. Please carry yourself and go and create a table by yourself. And the third part is sales-led growth. I separated product-led growth from sales-led growth because I've been lucky to work in both sides of the organization, right? To know that product is really great if you're working in a product company, like a company that at the center of what they're delivering is product. But there are times where your company is sales-led or the industry is sales-led. And you need to work even less closely with not just the product team this time, but with your sales team to make sure that your effort with the lead generation is not going down. Because the thing with B2B and leads that you generate is that they are people, they are human relationships, right? With product, it's about the product and one person making a decision to say, I want to use this product to do whatever the product does right now. They can make that decision in a split second and you've gotten them already. With B2B, they will go through different people in their department and the sales cycle is usually long. The things that really hold it together, in my experience, is relationships. So I would do the impersonal part of we've generated the leads, we've gotten the brand awareness. The commercial team now need to do the human part of making sure that they actually follow up and sell and do everything they actually need to do. And I need to figure out how to enable them to actually do that, right? Without just saying, take the leads and go figure it out. And key things that you could do there is like sales enablement, right? My team, there's somebody in my team that's currently dedicated to sales enablement, which is, what do you need to close? You need a battle card, you need a new case study, you need a competitive analysis, you need a market research, you need a country guide. Just tell us what you need. We will be grateful enough that they're telling us and we'll get it done. But just making sure you're enabling them, training them on the product as well, so that it's not just salespeople selling the product, but you are saying, this is what we found that works in terms of the language and the research we've done with our competitors. This is how you can actually utilize it. And then doing the product launches as well, right? So they can actually do its own work. And also managing the pipeline. And then product-led growth, content, product-led, sales growth, paid marketing. We know paid marketing. Spend some money. Here's my thing about paid marketing. It's not the most sustainable thing, except your company has a lot of money to spend, but it's the fastest way to grow, full stop. If you get into a company right now, I always negotiate, give me marketing budget, because before I can figure out the organic parts, that you now know that I know my job, let me spend some money and actually give you leads and give you users. Very easy stuff. But you want to get to a point where you're balancing. I don't think that all of marketing is just how much more money can we spend year in, year out. Yes, as the company grows, you want to scale new markets, you will need to spend marketing budget on paid marketing, influencers, social media, affiliates. But you always want to have that balance as a marketing leader between what is our organic growth engine and what's our paid marketing growth engine. So that in the long term, the organic keeps growing and growing and growing. And if our budget is ever cut, there's still a stream of leads or a stream of users because we built this content loop, we built this growth product loop that is already doing the work. And you get to a point where your success is, I'm reducing marketing budget or I'm reducing the cost per customer acquisition because my organic and product-led loop is doing well enough to still give us very quality users that we actually retain. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And then another thing is events and partnerships as a good analyst. When I was working on this slide, a part of me says, Peace, because you're doing Founders Connect events, that's why you're telling marketers to pay for events. It's true. If you ever see our deck, say yes. But I think that events actually work. And there are 3 ways that I find that events actually work in terms of like marketing and growth. One of them is brand visibility. I think it's very, very important to always know why you're doing a specific marketing initiative. There's times where you do like a marketing initiative and you know that this is not for growth or revenue right now. It is maybe long term, but right now we're doing it for visibility and brand building. And it's your job to communicate that to your manager or to your CEO to say, this is why we need to build the brand. This is why we need the visibility. We would not be tracking leads or users here, but this is what we're going to be tracking because you also need like a really good brand to actually be able to grow organically or with product-led growth over time. So that's one of the things that events does for you. It allows people to see your brand in person, ask some questions, and just give visibility. In an industry event where everybody is, they see your own brand, so they remember it. That's also important. So it's finding the right events there, but it's also making sure that when you go to an event, you have a strategy. It's not just getting a booth or just speaking like on stage and say, yeah, we have somebody who's speaking on stage. What are they speaking about? But what is our specific strategy to get more people to the booth and to get them to convert when they actually interface with us? You need a strategy for events. Another thing is, it's not all the time that you need to just sponsor an event. One of the things we're experimenting right now is doing our own events, like doing mixers and getting like specific like decision makers to like a room and wine and dine them and they're happy and they go back and say, oh, that chicken was really nice. So what's the budget that you guys were calling for us? It actually really works and it helps you to build relationships, especially to B2B. So that's something that I think is worth experimenting, figuring out how you can do your own event. And it could be physical events, or it could also be, let's do webinars, let's do thought leadership events that helps people to keep remembering us and we can keep talking to them about stuff as well. My final 2 slides is track everything, right? Regardless of whether you're doing paid marketing. Paid marketing is easiest to track. It's direct response. They click on the ads. If everything is implemented well, I know that they downloaded it. I know that they did it. That's very easy. But sometimes it can be hard to track product-led growth. It can be hard to track events. It can be hard to track content-led growth. But your assignment is, if you're going to do it, you have to track it. You have to find a way to make sure that you can attribute something to it, especially if focusing that on the goal that you're actually doing. Because again, it is the only way that you can actually say, this is what I spent, this is what I did, and this is how it contributed back to revenue. Or this is what we learned, and this is data to prove it, and this is how I'm going to use this information to do something differently the next time. Market measurement is, I think I learned this very early, that measurement is tomorrow's strategy, right? You can brainstorm and get creative and read and do everything today, but at the end of the day, if you experiment with something today, when you track it, that data informs what you do the next day, and so measurement is tomorrow's strategy. My final slide. And there are 4 things. My best practice framework, right? Beyond everything I've said is 1, experiment fast, right? Learn fast, implement small scale things that you can do. I'm very big on experimentation. I think the entire core of what growth marketing is experimentation. And everything can be experimented. If I go to a new company today, I'm not just, yes, I've seen some things that have worked, but I'm making sure that I'm taking them into this new context as an experiment, because the markets might be different, the target audience might be different, the messaging might be different, the product might be different, and so I need to test what actually works here per time. And audiences are evolving, platforms are evolving, trends are shifting. You want to keep experimenting and keep testing. And when you experiment, it's not just I tried this. It is that I know it could fail, but I learned something. If we don't track it and we don't learn, you didn't do an experiment, you just did an activity that day. 2, optimize for the entire full funnel. How we get to revenue growth as a marketing leader or as a marketer is by making sure that we touch every part of the funnel, from the brand building and the awareness, to the customer acquisition or lead generation, to the activation or closing the deals, down to actually when they actually become customers and if they actually stay there. You need to figure out how what you are doing in your team or as a department touches everywhere so you can actually build sustainable growth. And last one is invest in collaboration, right? Work with other people on the team, but also do partnerships, do co-marketing campaigns with brands that complements your brand, cross-pollinate your audience, right? It's not just collaborating in-house, it's also collaborating with other like brands that can help grow both brands easy well. And also speak to other marketers, because you're not the only one chopping shege. Everybody's going through the same thing. So if you speak to them, you can actually get ideas and unwrap stuff. And the last one is retention is really as important as an acquisition. And it's not just customer success job to do it. I think it's marketers as well. Thank you.
Yes, can we please, yes, clap for Peace. That was fantastic. Okay, so Peace, there are a couple of questions in Slido. Tech team, can we please have that up? But let me just read one. Okay, a couple are coming in. Somebody wants to know why I decided to do an MBA. Do you feel like answering?
Yeah.
So the question is, why did you decide to do an MBA, and several months in, has it been worth it?
It's stressful. God. Wow. It feels like a personal question. Does it feel like such a big crowd?
You don't have to answer it. It's low-key.
But I think it might be helpful. So I did it. It was very well taught. And I'll tell you guys a story. First, I always wanted to do a postgraduate degree. So initially, the easiest thing was I would do like a master's in marketing, right? Because I'm a marketer. But I think as I grew in my career, like if you spend like 10 years, this might sound proud, but I don't feel like there's anything I could really learn about marketing in like a university setting that I don't know by experience in some way already. So doing a marketing degree makes sense. And so I thought about myself and said, okay, if it was not marketing you wanted to learn, what does the rest of your career look like? I think about myself now as a business executive or as a business leader, not just a marketing leader. Because again, I'm working closely with other different departments. I'm working closely with CEOs and stuff. I'm consulting. And so I'm like, what can help me grow as a business leader? So even if I wanted to become a COO, a CSO, a CEO, it sort of complements the experience in marketing. And an MBA is just the most holistic course that I could find. I'm doing finance and economics. I don't know that I would have carried a finance textbook or economics book if I didn't have to like write an exam for it, but it has expanded my mind a lot more. That's the one academic part. The other part was my network. For most people, doing an MBA and an in-person MBA specifically allows you really expand your network. My network is very tech, but I have classmates now from all over the world, from Ukraine, US, everywhere. They come to class every month in consulting, in energy, in stuff that I don't know about. And now they are my friends and my classmates. And so I feel like I've been able to expand the quality of my network, not just the quantity of my network. And your network is your net worth. So I think those are the two biggest reasons I can share here. And has it been worth it? It's been very stressful, but my capacity has stretched. I didn't know that I could sit down 8 hours like I do in a job and just sit down 8 hours and read for an exam, because I haven't done that in like 10 years. But sitting down to do that, you realize what you're capable of. It's also the mind expanding. It's like anything you do, it doesn't have to be an MBA. If you read any book, you listen to any podcast, any knowledge you get, it expands your capacity and you're just able to do more and be more. And I think that's what he has done for me in some way. But I'm only 1/4 ways. So like, ask me again in 18 months. I might change my mind. But yeah.
But that was a good point. Thank you, Peace.
Wow.
There was a question about, I like this question here, as a growth lead at a B2B startup, what are the core talents as specialists you need to build a solid and efficient team?
Content, growth marketing, product. I think those are the key three. Design and data. Data, yeah, you should definitely get a data analyst on your team. Whether that person's reporting to product or marketing, but get a data analyst. Content, because I think that with B2C, because you're dealing with individuals, content is such a great strategy. That can be social content at the end of the day, or the person leading your like brand storytelling, or that can be SEO content, but I think it has never failed. It always works. And then growth. Growth for me in this context, I know there's a debate, is someone who understands the technical part of like product-led growth and experimentation and can actually do like experiments that lead with marketing, but also products-led a little bit more, and can do a bit of like product messaging and product campaigns. Those are the three core things. Every other thing would be like SEO specialist, influencer marketing manager, whatever, but growth, content, and data is the most important recipe for me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Peace. Please let's clap for Peace. That was a fantastic masterclass.